This brings us to step 4, which is building your team. As you're building your systems, now you're also building your team. Your team consists of many people, W-2 employees, 1099 vendors, and subcontractors. The reality is, any business is basically a collection of people. Now, there's an interesting thing my coach always says, and he says that business would be easy if there were no people involved. That a business is a collection of people, and your job as a business owner is to find the best people and build your team. The goal here is to take each of your systems and delegate that to your team. All the systems that we've discussed so far fall into 3 time zones: the past, present, and the future. And to understand how to delegate, you always ask yourself a question. And the question is, how much influence do you, as the owner, have over each of these? So, for example, how much of your past can you change? None, it's already done. So these systems you delegate first. How much of your present can you change? Well, some, but it's already happening. So these are the systems you delegate second. And your job as a business owner is to focus on creating the what? Your future. You will eventually delegate these as well, but only to very high caliber people. To build a competent team, it's important to understand the types of people that you're dealing with. In general, people fall into 3 categories: A, B, or C players. Now, C players are people who come in, but they can't do their job. So how long should you keep C players? Obviously not long at all. You need to separate yourself from these people as fast as possible. Most people are going to be B players. Now, B players are people who come in and they can do their job, and that's fine. What you're looking for is A players. Now, A players are people who can come in and be leaders in your business. So let me ask you a question. How do you define a leader? Most people have these definitions, somebody who's a self-starter, somebody who can lead a team, they can motivate people, they can get others to do what you need, and that's all great. Those are all good definitions of a leader. But understand this, you are looking at this from the standpoint of a business owner. And from the standpoint of a business owner, a leader is somebody who can come in and take things off whose plate? Yours. Why? Because if you have enough of these people, how much work do you have to do? Ideally, none. Because as an owner, your job is not to work in the business, but to work on it. Let me explain to you what that means with an example. About 15 years ago, when I was starting my business and I was trying to promote it and grow my business, I was promoting my business on TV. Today nobody watches TV anymore, but back then that's kind of what you did. And I got an interview with one of the local channels, and I was waiting for my turn in the room. Usually they call this like the green room, where you wait for your turn. So I was waiting for my turn, and along with me was sitting this elderly gentleman, very well-dressed, distinguished-looking gentleman. And I started talking with him, and it turns out that he was the CEO of a hospital chain, clearly doing about $1 billion in revenue. And he was here promoting some charity work that his hospital does to give back to the community. So obviously I got curious. I started asking him questions about how he runs his business. And after all the initial kind of weirdness wore off, he told me something that I never forgot. And what he said was, the way he runs his business is, he said that he doesn't have an office in his company. I was like, okay. He said the only time he goes into his business is when he has to call a board meeting. And the only reason he has to call a board meeting is because one of the executives that he's hired to run the company isn't doing their job. So anytime he calls a board meeting, the people attending know that one of them is getting fired. So the question he asked me was like, let me ask you, how many times do you think my employees want me to come into my business? Obviously, never. And the reason I bring this up is because this is the exact opposite of the mindset that most business owners have in how they run their companies. Most business owners feel they need to be the first ones to show up, the last ones to leave, be the hardest working person in their own business, just to set an example. And the reason I bring this up is because this is the exact opposite mindset that most business owners have when they run their business. And then what happens is, everything in their business starts to depend on them. And this gets them trapped working in their business. And if you look at the most successful people in the world, successful in business, like Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, and probably the person who did this best when he was alive was Steve Jobs. At all times, what are these people doing with their business? They're always out there promoting their companies. Warren Buffett does his investor conferences, and Steve Jobs was the master at this. When he did his product launches, those were watched more than hit TV shows and many movies. Which leads us to what working on the business actually means. Your job as a business owner is to be out there promoting the business, which is the proverbial shaking hands and kissing babies. Why? Because in any business, who has the highest level of credibility? Obviously, the owner. So think about it. If all you could do was focus your time on promoting your business to the highest value, highest margin clients, and you had a team of people that could handle the work as it came in, what type of business would you have? A business that runs on systems used by a team of people trained on using those systems that could grow without taking any more of your time. And you could lead a life that starts to resemble what's on your vision board. Hopefully the dots are starting to connect. Which brings us to the final step, step 5, which is Team Alignment Day. A successful business is always run by who? The employees. In order to do this, as you're building your team, you're looking for leaders. And these leaders are responsible for running the business. Every successful company needs 3 to 5 leaders in the business. Why? Because an owner can never replace themselves with one person, because an owner is always doing multiple people's jobs. So in order to replace yourself, you need at least 3 key leaders in your business. One to handle the past, one to handle the present, and one to handle the future of the business. The goal is to come to this team alignment day and share the strategic plan with your leadership team, and explain to them where you want to take the business going forward and the roles that you see each of those people playing in your business. And from this day forward, guess who runs the company? They do. And this is how you create a self-running, multi-million-dollar construction company. So to visualize this, let's say this is your business. In any business, the most important thing is that you must be very good at one skill. That is, you must know how to sell. Because if you can't sell, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And this covers many things. You as an owner should be able to go out there and promote your business to the highest value, high margin clients. Then you should be able to bring those prospects in and close deals at a high rate. The second skill is that you have to be able to build a team that you can hand over the admin tasks, the project management in the field, but most importantly, a team that you can teach how to sell. Why? Because as the business grows, if you, the owner, are the only one that's selling, you're basically back in the same game of working in the business. So in summary, you need to be able to sell, you need to be able to build a team, and you need to be able to teach that team how to sell. And this team should be supported by a series of systems. We covered the 9 key systems that every business needs in order to be self-sustaining. And in order to understand how well these systems are working, you need to have a high level of accountability, but more specifically, accountability to numbers. Because as a business owner, one of the most important skills you can develop is to learn how to run your business by the numbers. And underlying this whole thing is something that we call the Code of Honor, also known as the company culture. These are the standards that a company operates by, the set of rules that everyone, including the owner, follows, which also includes what happens when somebody doesn't follow the rules. Is that ignored? And is there a lot of tolerance? Or does the owner hold everyone, including themselves, to these very high standards? Now, an example my coach always gives is that many people build their businesses to loose tolerances, like that of a Ford Pinto, which, if you don't know, was not a very well-designed car. It rattled and shook very quickly. And then they tried to grow this business as fast as possible, which is the equivalent of taking that car and driving it very high speeds. Let's just take an extreme example to make a point and compare this Ford Pinto to an F-16. Now, if you take these two down a runway at high speeds, what do you think is going to happen? The poorly designed car starts to fall apart. And we've seen this with many contractors. One big job can bankrupt a company. But if you build your business well and have high standards and hold everyone to those high standards, then you have tight tolerances like an F-16. And if you take that F-16 down the runway at high speeds, what happens? It takes off and soars to new heights. Just like a well-designed and well-run business, it can create exponential results.